The world used to feel scripted. Every win I earned would slip through my fingers, as if some invisible hand snatched it away and handed it to someone else. That someone was my cousin, Aaron. He was the golden boy of our family, the CEO of a rising tech empire, the fiancé of my first love, Sarah. And me, I was the family disappointment, the man who snapped, who had a mental breakdown when success kept slipping away. They all thought I went insane. But the truth is simpler. I woke up. The day I quit my job, the city was drowned in gold light. The sunset bled across mirrored skyscrapers, and the glass towers of downtown looked like they were on fire. I stood on the rooftop of my old apartment, watching traffic veins pulse far below. I lit a cigarette, my first in years. "You really did it, huh?" Sarah's voice was calm, but her eyes trembled. "You just gave up." She looked at me like I was a stranger. Maybe I was. Her pencil skirt, her crisp white blouse, the faint scent of jasmine, she looked like success personified. Aaron's success. I exhaled smoke, slow and deliberate. "I'm just done feeding something that was never mine." "What are you talking about?" she snapped. "You can't just throw your life away." I smiled, the kind that hides too much. "I already did, Sarah, in my last life." She frowned. "You're not making sense again." I stepped closer, close enough to see my reflection in her eyes. "That's the problem. You all think this is madness, but it's clarity." That night, I left everything behind, my job, my apartment, my reputation. I rented a crumbling studio in the old district, where neon signs buzzed even at midnight, the kind of place where time forgot to move forward. Every morning, I woke up late. No hustle, no goals, no plans. Just silence. And peace. It wasn't laziness, it was war. At first, nothing happened. Aaron's company, Luminex, was booming. Sarah became their PR director. They were the power couple of the year. Forbes even ran a piece calling them the modern titans of innovation. But then the cracks began. 2 months later, I was sipping coffee in my dim kitchen when my phone buzzed. Unknown number. I let it ring out, then again, then again. Finally, I picked up. Leo, it's Aaron." His voice was shaking. You need to tell me what's going on. Everything's falling apart. The investors pulled out, the prototype failed, Sarah, she. I leaned back, letting the steam from my mug fog my vision. "Aaron," I said softly, "how's it feel when the world stops handing you everything?" He cursed under his breath. "You think this is funny. I know you had something to do with this. You were always jealous." "Jealous?" I chuckled. "I'm the happiest man alive. I don't work, I don't fight, I don't chase." I sipped my coffee, and somehow everything you built is burning. The line went silent. Only his ragged breathing remained. Then the call dropped. I set the phone down and whispered to no one in particular. Starve the system, and it eats its own host. Days turned into weeks. Aaron's name started trending online. Lawsuits, failed acquisitions, betrayal. The empire he built on stolen luck was collapsing under its own weight. And Sarah. I saw her once, standing in the rain outside my building. Her makeup was running, her hair soaked, eyes swollen. She looked like a broken reflection of who she used to be. "Leo," she whispered when I opened the door. "I didn't know. I swear, I didn't know what was happening to you." Her voice cracked. For the first time, she didn't sound like the perfect, polished woman I remembered. She sounded human. I looked at her, the woman who left me for the life that wasn't meant for her. "You don't need to apologize," I said quietly. "The universe has a better sense of justice than either of us ever did." She stepped closer, trembling. Are you happy now?" I met her gaze, then smiled faintly. Happiness is overrated. But peace, I exhaled slowly, that's priceless. That night, as thunder rolled through the city, I wrote in my journal. This isn't revenge. It's reclamation. I'm not destroying their world. I'm just refusing to hold it up anymore. They said time heals everything. They lied. Time doesn't heal, it exposes. And what it exposed, 2 months after Aaron's first breakdown, was the truth of what power built on theft really looks like when it begins to rot. The cracks in the empire. I watched from the sidelines, always silent, always unseen. The news feeds turned from admiration to accusation. LuminiX stock, COLLAPSES 47% in 48 hours. CEO under investigation for fraud. Board members demand answers. Each headline was a quiet symphony to me, one note of justice at a time. I didn't lift a finger. I just watched the system starve. And yet, behind every collapse, I could feel something like static electricity in the air. An invisible hum. The same energy that once drained my every success was struggling. Hungry. It wasn't just Aaron falling apart, it was something deeper. The knock. It was raining again when I heard the knock at my door. 3 slow, uneven taps. When I opened it, Sarah was standing there again, soaked to the bone, clutching a folder to her chest. Her eyes were red, her mascara smudged, but her voice soft, barely a whisper. "Leo, please, you have to listen to me." She looked terrified, not just sad, haunted. I stepped aside without a word. She entered, dripping water on the floor, shivering like a leaf. She placed the folder on my table and opened it with trembling hands. Inside were printed graphs, screenshots, and security logs, all from Luminex's internal system. "I think something's wrong," she said, her voice cracking. "Not just business wrong, I mean unnatural." I looked down. The graphs showed data spikes, random surges of productivity, followed by unexplained crashes. "I thought Aaron was sabotaging himself," she continued. "But it's not that. It's like something feeding, draining us. The harder we push, the worse things get, like it's punishing us for trying." She swallowed hard, eyes darting up to mine. "You knew, didn't you?" I leaned back in my chair, arms crossed. "I warned you once, Sarah. You all called me crazy." Tears welled in her eyes. "Leo," I didn't understand. Her voice trembled. "What is it? What's happening to us?" I exhaled slowly, then said the words that had haunted me for lifetimes. "It's called the system, a cosmic parasite. It rewards ambition, not merit. The harder you chase success, the more it drains you and feeds its chosen host." Her face went pale. "Aaron." "Yes," I said quietly. "It fed him everything it stole from me, until I stopped chasing, until I starved it." The realization. She sank into the chair, eyes unfocused. "That's why it's turning on him now." "It's starving," I said. "It needs fuel, ambition, greed, competition. And now that I'm not playing the game." "It's feeding on him instead," she whispered. I nodded. The silence that followed was heavy, the kind that wraps around your lungs. Finally, she looked up at me. "Leo, if we starve it together, would it die?" Her eyes held something new this time, not guilt, not fear, but faith. The kind of faith I used to have in her. I looked at her for a long moment. Her hair clung to her skin, her makeup smeared, but she looked real. More real than she ever did in her designer suits and perfect smiles. "If you want to fight it," I said softly, "you have to do nothing." She blinked. "Nothing." "No work, no ambition, no struggle. You stop wanting. That's how you kill it." "But that's impossible," she said. "That's not living." "It's survival," I murmured. She stared at me for a long time, maybe realizing that the man she once loved had turned into something terrifyingly calm. A ghost of ambition. A man who had already lost everything once and found peace in the ashes. Finally, she said quietly, "Then teach me." The spark. The words caught me off guard. She wanted to learn my silence, my stillness, my rebellion. For a moment, I saw the woman I once loved, not the polished corporate version, but the one who used to sneak into art galleries with me at midnight, who laughed too loud, who believed in impossible things. "All right," I said finally with a small nod. "But understand this, once you stop feeding it, everything fake in your life will burn." She met my gaze. "Then let it burn." That night, as rain whispered against the windows, Sarah stayed. Not as an ex-lover, not as a broken remnant of my past, but as a witness to the quietest revolution the universe would ever know. And for the first time since my rebirth, I wasn't alone. Say silence is peaceful. But when you strip ambition from someone who's built their entire identity on winning, silence becomes torture. Sarah was learning that now. Day 1. She moved into my small apartment, a one-bedroom on the edge of the old district. No marble floors, no luxury, just cracked walls, warm light, and a broken coffee machine that made more noise than coffee. I told her the rule: no goals, no chasing, no pretending. At first, she laughed. "You make it sound like rehab." "It is," I said, "for the soul." She thought she understood. She didn't, not yet. Day 4. The first signs appeared. She couldn't sleep. Her dreams were filled with whispers, voices telling her to try harder, to fix things, to earn her place back. At 3 a.m., I found her sitting by the window, trembling. "It's calling me," she whispered. "The system." She nodded. "It's begging me to come back. It says everything will be okay if I just work again." Her eyes were bloodshot, her voice fragile. "That's how it starts," I said. "It feeds on guilt." "I feel useless," she admitted, "like I'm disappearing." I knelt beside her. "That's not you disappearing, Sarah. That's it dying." Day 10. Aaron was all over the news again. His empire had officially crumbled. Lawsuits, scandal, betrayal, the full collapse. I watched a clip of him being escorted out of his office in handcuffs. His once perfect hair was a mess, his smile gone. "He looks empty," Sarah murmured beside me. "He is," I said. "The system found a new host." She looked up at me slowly, realization dawning. "Me?" I nodded. "But you're not feeding it anymore. That's why it's starving faster." She shivered, hugging her knees. "Then what happens when it dies?" I looked out the window, the rain tracing patterns against the glass. "Then we'll find out what life really looks like when it's ours." Day 15, the breaking point. Sarah stopped eating, stopped talking. She'd sit in the dark for hours, her mind fighting itself. One night she screamed in her sleep, thrashing, sobbing, gasping for air. I rushed to her side. "Sarah, wake up." She clutched my shirt, tears streaming down her face. "It's showing me everything, all the fake success, the deals I thought I earned. It wasn't me, Lee, it was it. I thought I was special." Her voice cracked into a sob. I held her, firm but gentle. "You were never the parasite, Sarah, just its puppet, but now you're free." She buried her face against my chest, trembling. "Then why does freedom hurt this much?" I didn't answer. Because I knew. Freedom always comes with mourning, for the person you used to be. Day 20, the spark of life. By the 20th day, something shifted. Sarah smiled for the first time, a small, fragile smile while watering the dying plant on my balcony. "I think it's growing again," she said softly. It was, the plant was dead, but I didn't tell her that. Because that moment, that quiet hope, was more alive than anything money or success ever gave her. She looked at me, the sunlight catching the edge of her face. "You were right," she said. "Stillness isn't emptiness, it's peace." I met her gaze. "It's the first breath after drowning." She stepped closer. "Then breathe with me." And in that golden moment, with the sun bleeding across her face and the world outside finally quiet, I realized something terrifying. I wasn't at war anymore. I was falling in love again. But this time, not with the Sarah who left me for power. With the woman who let it all burn and still stood in the ashes. The night the system came to collect, the air felt wrong. The lights flickered, the clock on the wall stopped ticking. The city outside went eerily quiet, like the world was holding its breath. Sarah was asleep on the couch, curled beneath my old blanket, her breathing steady for the first time in days. Then the shadows began to move. The presence. It started with a whisper, low, mechanical, crawling under my skin. "You owe me, Leo." The voice came from nowhere and everywhere. It wasn't sound, it was pressure, pressing against my ribs, squeezing my thoughts. I stood up, every instinct screaming at me to run, but I didn't. Running was how it fed. "You're too late," I said quietly. "I'm done playing." The air pulsed, the walls seemed to breathe, and then it appeared, a distortion like the world was glitching. In that distortion, a shape formed, human almost. Its face was smooth and blank, its eyes black mirrors reflecting me. "You think starvation is victory," it whispered. "Everything dies when I die." My fists clenched. "Good," I said, "then die." The bargain. It didn't move closer. It unfolded toward me, like the shadows were bending around its will. "I made you great once. I gave you fortune, brilliance, love. You wasted them all. You gave me illusions," I said. "You fed my cousin with my future. You turned love into a transaction." The creature tilted its head. "And yet she came back to you. What will you do when I take her again?" My heartbeat stopped. "Don't." It smiled without lips. "Debt must be paid. Sarah wakes. Leo." Her voice soft, scared. I turned. She was standing in the doorway, hair messy, eyes wide. The creature turned too, and its head split into hundreds of mirrored faces, each whispering her name. "Sarah, Sarah, Sarah." She screamed, clutching her head. The room began to shake, glass rattling, the walls bleeding black mist. I grabbed her shoulders. "Don't listen to it. It's in my head, it's showing me." Her eyes filled with tears. "It's showing me everything I took from you. The money, the company, you." "That's not real anymore," I said. "It only has power if you regret." "But I do regret," she cried. The creature hissed, a sound like cracking glass. "Then you're mine." The standstill. Something snapped inside me. I stepped between them, facing the creature as the room distorted around us. "Take me instead." It paused. "You would trade peace for pain again." "If peace means watching her suffer, yeah." A silence fell, heavy and endless. Then a smile, faint and hollow. "Very well." The creature lunged. The air collapsed inward, darkness swallowing the light. But I didn't fight. I did what I'd learned to do. Nothing. Absolute stillness. The system crashed against me like a tidal wave, but there was no resistance, no fear, no hunger for victory. And in that emptiness, it found nothing to feed on. It began to starve. It screamed, a sound that tore through dimensions, and then shattered like glass, fragments of black light evaporating into nothing. The aftermath. When I opened my eyes, the world was still again. The city hummed softly outside. Rain tapped against the window. Sarah was on the floor, shaking but alive. I knelt beside her. "It's gone," I whispered. "Are you sure?" "Yeah," I said, smiling faintly. "It starved to death." She looked at me, her eyes raw, full of relief and guilt and something deeper. "You saved me." "No," I said softly. "You saved yourself, I just stood still." She leaned forward, resting her forehead against mine. "Then stay still with me, forever." The quiet dawn. When the sun rose, the world looked lighter. The city didn't feel hostile anymore, just alive, breathing on its own. For the first time in 2 lifetimes, I felt free. No more invisible strings, no more ambition leeching my soul. Just her hand in mine, warm and trembling. "What now?" she asked. I smiled. "Now we live slowly." It's strange how quiet freedom sounds. No alarms, no meetings, no voices whispering that I'm falling behind. Just the sound of rain against the roof, and the slow rhythm of Sarah's breathing beside me. For the first time in forever, the world wasn't taking from me or from her. It was simply there. Ours. The morning after. We left the city, sold what little we had, bought a small house near the coast, where the air smelled like salt and rebirth. I planted a garden. Sarah painted again. Every morning, she'd wake before sunrise, standing by the window with her coffee, light spilling across her face. Her eyes weren't haunted anymore. They were soft, alive. "You know," she said one morning, her voice quiet, "I used to think peace was boring." I looked up from the soil, wiping sweat from my forehead. "And now?" She smiled, small, tired, real. "Now I think peace was all I ever wanted. I just didn't know how to stop fighting long enough to see it." The letter. Weeks passed. One afternoon, a letter came's no return address, just my name written in neat, trembling handwriting. Inside, a single line. "I understand now, Aaron." No apology, no excuses, just understanding. That was enough. I burned the letter that night, watching the paper curl and dissolve. The smoke drifted into the sea breeze, disappearing into the dark. Sarah watched quietly. "Do you forgive him?" she asked. "Forgiveness isn't for him," I said softly. "It's for me. I'm done carrying ghosts." The quiet between us. We spent evenings in silence. Not the cold kind, the kind where words weren't needed anymore. Sometimes she'd rest her head on my shoulder, and we'd watch the horizon melt into gold. She'd whisper things like, "You think the system's really gone?" And I'd say, "If it ever comes back, it won't find us. We're invisible now." Because invisibility, the thing I once hated, had become our sanctuary. The confession. It was late, the kind of night where the stars felt close enough to touch. She turned to me suddenly, eyes glistening. "Leo, I don't think I ever told you what you mean to me." I smiled faintly. "You don't have to." "No, I do," she said, her voice trembling. "You didn't just save me from the system, you saved me from myself, from the woman who thought love was something you earn." I took her hand. "Then promise me something." "Anything." "Never chase love again, just let it exist. Let us exist." She nodded, tears falling freely. "Then let's exist forever." And she kissed me, slow, lingering, full of the kind of warmth that doesn't need words or promises. Epilogue, the garden. Months later, the garden bloomed wild and chaotic, but alive. Bright flowers tangled with vines, sunlight painting the air golden. Sarah laughed as she tried to chase a butterfly, tripping over the uneven path. I caught her before she fell. "Still clumsy," I teased. "Still catching me," she shot back, smiling. And for a moment, everything felt like the universe had rewritten itself. Not as a system, not as a curse, but as a quiet love story between two souls who finally stopped running. Narration. I thought rebirth meant revenge. I thought peace meant victory. But in the end, it was simpler than that. Rebirth means remembering how to live. And sometimes, doing nothing is how you find everything.